Hello, welcome to the legendary Brown Note. Today we'll be looking at 1986's Top Gun. It's a native 4K transfer with Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos. We'll be taking a look at the 5 best sounding scenes. As always, spoilers ahead. Let's get into it. So this first scene has a nice couple of flybys right at the beginning. A couple of decent afterburner effects. That part right there has a really cool flyby or flyover. It starts from the front of the screen, and then as they fly over you, you can hear it overhead and straight to the back speakers. So right here, when they do these rolls, the whole soundstage kind of goes with it. So there's a lot of air that kind of floats around you. And again, right here, they do a couple more rolls. It's a cool little subtle effect. So this scene sets the stage for what's to come, and I give the scene a 2. This next scene, you get some nice overhead effects right here. The plane flying overhead. And you get this legendary line. Some of the best sounding afterburners right here at that moment. Okay, this next part has a really cool overhead effect. Some really nice afterburners too. So I give this scene a 3. The afterburners have real nice weight behind it. Okay, the next scene right here, the plane's taking off, has some real nice punch in the afterburners. Finally, the first few were okay, but this is where the afterburners really start to have some nice depth and weight to it. Oh, and of course, you know, Kenny Loggins' Highway to the Danger Zone comes on for a second time right here. When the afterburners stop, it has a nice little flame out kind of sound effect. Alright, so this next scene was one of my favorites from the olden days when I had a 6.1 setup with this rear center. And this is the spin. And I remember that this was a good test of that rear center speaker when he goes into the flat spin. So as soon as he flies into the jet wash, there's a bunch of effects that happen around you and above you. And it's this part right here. So there's not a lot of bass that comes in with this jet wash, but you do get a lot of just sound effects that are going off around you. So right here, when they do the flat spin, you can hear the sound kind of travel around you right here. I actually remember it being even more strong in the rear, but there's definitely lots of side surround in this. The highlight of the scene, however, comes from when they eject, and it hits really, really hard right there. And right when they eject, right there as well, it really lights up the subs. So it's a nice little effect. All right, so that ejection sequence alone deserves a 4. Very, very punchy bass. All right, so this next scene, if you're gonna demo any one particular scene in this movie, I think it should be this one. This is the final fight, or the last aerial dogfighting sequence. And it starts off with some really nice launch sequences. So the afterburners, and then when they turn off the afterburners, carry some really nice weight. So right here. Do love me some afterburners. And then the second plane's coming up right now. So again, the afterburners in the later half of the movie sound a lot better than the beginning, which is a shame. So the stars of this sequence have to be the explosions. So Hollywood gets hit right here, and it starts off with a pretty nice bang. There's a lot of noise that's kind of coming around you from all the planes, and that's nice too, but there is some real weight right here. So right when Maverick takes off, some really cool sound effects as he's rolling away from the ship. Some nice little Atmos effects right there. There's quite a few explosions in this last section, but this explosion right here has to be the best one in terms of impact. When I was watching and rewatching this, this is the one that made me feel like, oh, this is nice. So that one has some really nice extension down low. The gunshots have some depth to them, but they're nothing that special. All right, so what's a Top Gun review without including the flyby? He does two of these. The first one was okay, but the one at the end is the one that has some nice extension and some nice volume. It kind of almost makes you feel like you're there. I wish it was louder, but this is what it sounds like and looks like on the graph in my room. So it definitely rings in the air afterwards, kind of hangs and echoes. It's a nice sound effect. So that whole final sequence, I give it a 4. The explosions are very, very tactile, and they feel, I feel every bit of it. There's like 4 or 5 of them, so it's actually a nice sequence to watch for those explosions. The little flyby at the end is a nice little added bonus. The last scene is not a scene at all. It's the soundtrack, and I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5. Right from the opening track, the Top Gun anthem, I hear the alternating notes coming from the left and right speakers with great weight. Highway to the Danger Zone comes soon after, and it really pumps me up for the dogfighting that I'm about to experience. At around the 30-minute mark, we have Mighty Wings blaring in the background as we are introduced to our first real dogfight. And who can forget quite possibly the best song in the entire movie? That's right, Hangin' with the Boys. I'm convinced the director just needed to get the boys topless, and this was the best he could come up with. All the music really adds up to the tension of the numerous action sequences. Kudos for the film mixer for bringing the music front and center. Alrighty, after averaging out the scores, we get 3.2 legendary brown notes out of 5. It currently sits in the 4th spot on the legendary leaderboard. There's not a huge amount of bass in this movie, but when called upon, there are certain moments that pack a real punch. The expansive sound field that the Atmos track provides, however, really puts you in the air with the planes. The echoes from the engines linger in the air, and there are flybys galore. It's a fun track all around, and its only drawback is the filtered bass compared to the DTS 6.1 track from the old Blu-ray. The low end is just not as full. When I see an afterburner on screen, I want it to melt my face off, but the Atmos track fell just a bit short.
Top Gun trophy still up for grabs, so every point counts.
What's the canopy? I'm taking a shot. Fire! Bingo! Watch that sucker, yeah! Ice, watch out, there's a big...
Sweat everywhere. I swear, they had people applying sweat to the actors throughout the movie. The picture quality is definitely an upgrade over the previous Blu-ray release. They've cleaned up some of the compression artifacts, and the resolution increase is noticeable. The grain is present, but not out of control. The picture isn't perfect, but the upgrade over the Blu-ray is definitely worth checking out. There was a scene near the end of the movie where the brightness changed very abruptly, and I even compared it to the old Blu-ray, and the brightness change wasn't there. I wonder if that's a byproduct of the HDR grade allowing for more brightness. It was definitely jarring. Watching this movie brings me back to the cheesiness of the dialogue and the old one-liners my brother and I used to say. What surprised me the most is how much I missed the soundtrack to this movie. I fell in love with the song Mighty Wings all over again. I'm sure the sequel will be jam-packed with some great music and even more cheese. I can't wait. Well, this wraps up another review. Please let me know which scenes were your favorite in the comments down below. See you next week for another review. Thanks for watching.